Kamala Harris is another strong vice presidential contender and a very possible Joe Biden pick. You can see that her chart features lots of action, starting with, once again, a full moon, demonstrating the auspicious nature of full moons. And in her case, it's pretty exact. I mean, she was born minutes before the precise apex of that full moon on that day. And having it across the fifth 11 adds to the auspicious power of a full moon. And then you see lots of ambition in the chart by way of big T-square here, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, with Saturn opposite Mars. That's very driven energy with lots of enthusiasm and lots of self-discipline as well. She's a former prosecutor, and you would find that by way of Saturn in the ninth, which is a legal house. And Saturn in its own sign, very strong, and close to the midheaven. And we also see that while she has the squares and oppositions, you can see Mars squares Neptune as well, but then we see lots of trines and sextiles, like Sun trine Saturn, Mercury in geometric trine to Saturn, Saturn sextile the Moon, Moon trine Mars, Mars sextile the Sun, Neptune sextiling these planets over here. It's a very well integrated chart. So this is a person with a full moon, but again, lots of stability to work with. I remember when I saw her chart a couple of years ago, anticipating she would be running for president. It seemed to me that the Capricorn planets, the way they were going to coalesce in 2020, squaring her moon, sun, might not be the most fortunate alignment. And it turned out that way as far as the primary is concerned. But when it comes to possibly getting the VP nomination, it's a bit of a different story, because these planets, while they do make those squares, and that's pretty challenging without question, but it often points to a person who is in the thick of the battle, because typically when you're in a campaign, there'll be at least 1, 2, 3 planets in this case lined up to create a ton of tension. And notice that while they square the moon and sun, they trine the Jupiter over here in Taurus in the 12th house. And the Jupiter is the ruler of the 7th. The 7th is the partnership house, and the 8th is shared resources. Basically, the whole quadrant here from 7, 8, and 9, this quadrant connects to the relational world. And so this is the cycle that she's in. And a VP implies a partnership. So I actually think these planets are situated very well for her possibilities of getting the VP job. Between her and Biden, there's a lot of action here. And all these oppositions and squares are definitely an explanation for what happened between them on the debate stage when Kamala challenged them really hard on certain issues going back into his distant past that she felt needed addressing, and that was probably one of the most uncomfortable moments for Joe in his primary. And for her, it might have been the highlight of her primary career, because she rose quite a bit following that exchange on the stage, but she never gained any traction. And despite some great early rallies, and in fact, I recall Trump being respectful, which is strange for Trump. He always notices the size of crowds, and he took note of the fact that she was drawing, 20,000 people to the street. But nevertheless, she never gained any traction. And so the question is, given what happened in that exchange, and then when you see that her Jupiter opposes his Sun, and then we notice that her Mars in Leo squares Biden's Mercury, and is close enough to catch his Sun as well. Her Saturn squares his Sun, and those are enough to cause quite a bit of tension. But I've also seen that type of alignment be a pretty strong potential draw, because planets that challenge, provided you can respect the person and have some other point of agreement in the chart, those types of alignments stimulate and also ground the relationship. Saturn, for instance, is famous for doing that, and lots of people that form important relationships have Saturn contacts. And Jupiter in an opposition can be an optimism factor that is really welcome. And you do see potential here, because he is Sagittarius rising and she is Gemini rising, and this is known because her chart has a precise birth time, born in California. Those charts are published, or rather those times are published. And this exchange of ascendants, I've noticed, is one important feature that happens between people that develop important relationships. And she does have her Mercury in Scorpio, which is Biden's sign, so there could easily be a similar way of thinking about things, and that would be a point of agreement. And her full moon, which is obviously a really critical part of her character, cuts across his 5th, 11th, which is a friendship, literally fun axis, and again, very common between people that are drawn to one another. Notice also that her Virgo planets are up in the sign of his zenith MC, so she immediately becomes someone that he can look up to and respect. So there's plenty here to get around the dynamic nature of the aspects that challenge. I'm going to say that if Biden were to pick her, he definitely would be doing something that someone like Trump would never do, because I think with Trump, if you challenge him the way she challenged Joe on the stage, he might use you in some way, but it's extremely unlikely he would make you a partner. I think Biden is a much bigger man than that, and if he feels that she can help him in his run, or even if he feels that their philosophies align, it's possible that he would pick her. Notice, speaking of philosophy and way of thinking in the broadest sense, her Jupiter at 24, 25 Taurus sextiles Biden's Jupiter. So that's another excellent contact. So I have to say that Kamala, together with Stacey Abrams, is right up there in the list of candidates that have a very strong shot at being chosen to be VP in 2020.